right, here we go. We're going to see what happened in the press briefing.
Happy Monday. Good to see all of you
Happy
here.
Monday.
I want to start with a preview of President Trump's very busy schedule for the week. Later this afternoon, the president will be making a major announcement focused on the childhood autism epidemic, alongside his top health advisors who are working to make America healthy again. This will be a powerful display of how the entire Trump administration is committed to addressing root causes of chronic conditions and diseases, embracing full transparency in government, and championing gold standard science. Tonight, the president will depart to New York City ahead of the 80th session of the United Nations General Assembly. He will be joined in New York City by the First Lady. Tomorrow morning, President Trump will deliver a major speech touting the renewal of American strength around the world, his historic accomplishments in just 8 months, including the ending of 7 global wars and conflicts. The president will also touch upon how globalist institutions have significantly decayed the world order, and he will articulate his straightforward and constructive vision for the world. The president will also be hosting bilateral meetings with the UN Secretary General and the leaders of Ukraine, Argentina, and the European Union. The president will also later in the day hold a multilateral meeting with Qatar, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, Indonesia, Turkey, Pakistan, Egypt, the UAE, and Jordan. After these important meetings, the president will attend a reception tomorrow night with more than 100 world leaders before returning to Washington, D.C. On Thursday here at the White House, President Trump will welcome President Erdogan of Turkey for a bilateral meeting. And on Friday, the president will travel to Long Island for the Ryder Cup golf match between the United States and Europe. This event is one of the greatest sporting events in the world, and it would not be taking place this year without President Trump's help. President Trump signed an executive order last week preventing a strike that would have crippled the New York City area ahead of the tournament, and at the request of the 5 labor unions who all represent workers on the Long Island Railroad. One of the greatest golfers in the world, Bryson DeChambeau, praised the president's critical intervention, saying, quote, "When the possibility of a strike threatened to disrupt transportation and attendance, President Trump stepped up and took the action needed to protect this world-class competition." Thanks to President Trump's decisive leadership, the Ryder Cup experience will be everything fans and the golf community deserve. Again, that's a quote from the great golfer Bryson DeChambeau. Now let's all hope the American Ryder Cup team can take home the trophy. In other news, positive economic data continues to pour in. Brand new polling shows that Americans' faith in the economy and the direction of the nation is back on track and shooting even higher. Home ownership is more affordable, with mortgage rates dropping to a 3-year low. For new home buyers, this represents a $250 decline in your monthly mortgage payment, or nearly $3,000 a year.
Yeah, well,
President Trump has made it very clear he wants to continue to see mortgage rates
can buy a
decline to a
home
record low, just like they did in his first term. Thanks to President Trump's unleashing energy dominance, gas prices are dropping, and Americans are spending the smallest share of their disposable income on gasoline since 2005. Additionally, the annual cost to own and operate a new vehicle is down by nearly 6% over the last year. Americans are earning more and they are spending more than ever before. After inflation outpaced for 26 straight months under Joe Biden, real wages have increased nearly every month since President Trump took office, with wages for blue-collar workers rising at the fastest rate in 6 decades. Retail sales are also booming, up 5% over last year, and the stock market is booming, and Americans' retirement accounts continue to do well, with the Dow, S&P 500, and NASDAQ all hitting new record highs.
There's a lot of people buying Pokemon cards
for
some fucking reason.
And the NASDAQ is up more than 21%
I just went to fucking 4 stores,
man. As part of President Trump's mission to restore America as the manufacturing superpower of the world, he has secured nearly $9 trillion in U.S. investment, nearly 9 times more than Biden attracted in his
people
entire
love their fucking Pokemon.
We expect that number
Barely
to be
anybody's buying
the
the
soon. We're already seeing the initial economic
maybe I should buy the Yu-Gi-Oh cards because no one's buying
recently rising to an all-time high. President Trump built the greatest economy in the history of the world in his first term, and we are witnessing him do it all over again. Now, before I open it up to questions, I do want to speak on the heinous political assassination of Charlie Kirk. As President Trump powerfully stated yesterday, this assassination was an attack on everything that makes the United States of America the greatest country on earth. But that attack has completely failed. The heartwarming response from the overwhelming majority of the American people over the past 2 weeks is all of the proof that you need. The assassin who took Charlie's life can destroy flesh and blood, but he can never destroy the values that Charlie stood for. All across the country, millions of Americans have prayed, hosted vigils, attended church services, became politically engaged for the first time, and honored the legacy of Charlie and the ideals he died speaking for. The beautiful memorial service attended by President Trump and 100,000 great Americans in State Farm Stadium yesterday was just the latest example. And Erica Kirk's mercy was one of the
they had
greatest
so
acts
many
of grace
fucking people,
this world
right?
has
Even
ever
the
seen.
right, they had
May
2
God continue
stadiums,
to watch over Erica and
and
their
they were
beautiful
both
children.
basically packed.
Unfortunately, there have been some jarring exceptions to this unity. This past Friday, 58 House Democrats voted no, and 38 voted present on a resolution that simply stated, condemning in the strongest possible terms the assassination of Charles James Kirk and all forms of political violence. There were no strings attached to this vote. This was a simple gesture of human decency to denounce political violence. I wish I could say that this was only a fringe group, but 96 votes is nearly half of the entire House Democrat caucus. And they didn't just vote against this basic resolution condemning political violence. A number of those same Democrats took to the House floor to smear Charlie Kirk's name. The man wasn't even buried yet, and Democrat members of Congress were denigrating his memory on the floor of the House of Representatives. This was truly a sad moment and a clear reflection of how radical the Democrat Party has become. Many Democrats in elective office have now been totally captured by a radical fringe of the far-left base who want to dehumanize every person they disagree with. We must continue to call this wickedness out. It's the only way that our nation can heal. For too long, past leaders have offered platitudes while political violence has been allowed to fester and harm innocent Americans. There has been coordinated campaigns dating back years, spearheaded by radical left-wing organizations centered on dehumanizing, intimidating, doxing, and even attacking Americans whom they disagree with. These groups have radicalized impressionable individuals to foment violence. An attempted transgender assassin traveled to Justice Brett Kavanaugh's family home with plans to end his life. An attempted assassin came within an inch of ending President Trump's life in Butler, Pennsylvania, and on the campaign trail, another attempted assassin tried to kill the president at his golf club in Florida. A left-wing assassin shot United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson right in the back in the heart of New York City. ICE agents are facing a more than 1,000% increase in assaults for simply doing their jobs. Violent radical left-wing mobs engaged in illegal behavior, targeted Jewish Americans, and shut down America's college campuses under the previous administration. Left-wing mobs burned down Tesla dealerships out of, quote, protest of Elon Musk and his policies. In May, a left-wing activist shouting "Free Palestine" murdered 2 innocent Israeli embassy staffers outside of the D.C. Jewish Museum here in
just
Washington.
Talking about all the
These are just a few examples, prominent examples of the growing
attacks
left-wing
that have
political
been
violence in our country. Enough is enough, and as President Trump has promised, he will directly address the dark sources funding and supporting this domestic terrorism to finally restore order in our country.
Terrorism.
The American people can expect further, very strong action on this very soon. Everyone, Republican, Democrat,
I mean, you could just say domestic terrorism.
We all deserve
too,
to live in a country where we do not
especially
have to
when you're
fear
going
for
after
our
political
lives
leaders for
simply
like some kind of fucking
what we believe in.
Free
With that, I will take your
Palestine.
question. In
Some
today's
fucking
new media
dumb
seat, we have Monica Page, who is the White House
Start
correspondent
shouting that
for
and then you
Turning Point
murder
USA's
someone.
news
Well, that
organization
doesn't
on
put
the
you in a
front
good
lines.
light, especially
Monica,
the
thank you
cause
for being
too.
here. We're so sorry for the loss of Charlie. I know you work for him. You were very close to him, and we appreciate your being in the media seat and also your commitment to covering the White House. You are here
Houthis did
every day,
that
just
shit
like
when
the rest
they
of everyone in this room.
right
So
took
why don't you kick
took
us off today?
boats
So much,
under
Caroline.
their
I don't think you realize how much it
commandeered
means to me to be
boats
here in this
and
seat,
shipping
especially on behalf of
shipping
Turning Point
vessels and
USA
then
and Frontlines.
held
We greatly
hostage
appreciate
those
it.
guys.
We also
Was
greatly appreciate the
that a good
outpouring
thing?
of support, and just the really kind words that we heard yesterday at the memorial service. That means more to us then I don't think anybody ever knows. And even the global support that we're seeing for Charlie has been overwhelming, and it doesn't go unnoticed. So thank you so much. I have 3 questions, if I may, on the horrific murder of Charlie Kirk. Government and local officials said that Antifa inscriptions were engraved in these bullet casings that killed Charlie Kirk. It appears to be a trend, especially after what we saw in the Annunciation Church shooting, Catholic Church shooting. Additionally, Stephen Miller recently commented on the rise in this kind of violence, saying there is a domestic terrorist movement growing in this country. The president is designating Antifa as a domestic terrorist organization. I'm wondering, what is the approach to holding these people accountable, just to ensure that violence like this just is eradicated moving forward?
Sure. Well, Antifa is going to be designated a domestic terrorist organization. The president intends to sign that executive order very soon as it's drafted, as soon as today, later this afternoon. And this is something the president campaigned on, because we have seen a rise in violence perpetuated by Antifa radical people across this country who subscribe to this group. And unfortunately, it's gone widely uncovered by many in the legacy media. It also went completely ignored by the previous administration. Not anymore. Not only, as you mentioned, were the bullet casings subscribed with Antifa mottos, if you will, in the heinous assassination of Charlie, but there have also been more examples than I could read off for you here in this briefing room today of violence from Antifa. I will just read a few. In July 2025, several members of an Antifa cell ambushed and opened fire on officers at an ICE facility in Alvarado, Texas, shooting one officer in the neck. Also in July 2025, 3 Antifa members were charged with assaulting a police officer during a violent riot outside an ICE facility in Portland, which for weeks prior had been under siege from the local Antifa terror cell. In February 2024, a transgender Antifa terrorist detonated an explosive device outside of the office of the Republican Attorney General of Alabama. In July 2023, Antifa members linked to abortionist group Jane's Revenge firebombed pro-life facilities and vandalized churches. In January 2022, a suspected Antifa member was arrested for bringing a pipe bomb to a pro-Trump event. In January 2021, an Antifa supporter threatened to shoot police officers.
There was also some
fire.
Yeah, that fire. Right, there
Florida
was some
State
fire
Capitol
bombings
building.
at Planned
Again,
Parenthood.
I could continue to list
Planned
many more
Parenthood
examples for those in the room who don't believe this is a serious threat to American safety
I think she
and our
talked about
national
that
security.
one,
But this administration knows that it
the egg
is.
donor
That's why the
facility
president
that
will be
was
signing this
attacked,
order.
right?
And we will
Remember?
also be
That was
most
this
importantly
year,
looking at
right?
who is funding Antifa and who is funding
They were
these
talking
other
about some
violent
fucking
left-wing
weird
groups that we've seen
nihilistic
perpetuate so
ideology
much crime and mayhem across our country.
through the world.
And
bullshit, right?
Charlie Kirk died exercising his First Amendment right, willingly
Took it out
debating,
on,
conversing with
not
everybody
even-
and anybody. That was what he did. So what message does this White House
Birthing
have now to all Americans
Specimen that
who feel like they are too afraid
Birth.
to express their beliefs, their values, their morals in the wake of such horrific violence?
I think the president has answered this, and I will leave it to his response, Monica, where he so beautifully said, we have to keep fighting. We have to keep speaking up. We have to keep speaking our mind. I know that's what Charlie would want us to do, and we have a right to free speech in this country. The president supports it. It is protected by our beautiful Constitution, and Americans should not cower in fear. They should rise up in courage to continue speaking the truth.
And to end on a lighter note, Caroline, I'd love to know what your favorite memory of Charlie is.
Sure. Charlie was a great guy, and he was, of course, a very influential person in the conservative movement, in the MAGA movement. He was so helpful to the president during the campaign and to all of us who worked on that campaign, that historic campaign. I myself had many great memories going on Charlie's amazing podcast and his show. He was always willing to text people with words of encouragement. In fact, my last text exchange with him was the day before he died. And he was asking for my husband and I's address to send a children's book to our son. And I think that just speaks to the type of person that he was. And I know so many of us here at the White House are going to miss him very much.
Thank you, Caroline.
Thank you. Gabe.
Carolyn, thank you. Regarding the autism announcement,
Sure.
why now? Does the administration have new data that hasn't been published previously showing a possible link between acetaminophen and autism?
I know there's been many reports about what this announcement at 4 o'clock will be, Gabe. The president is very excited about this, so I don't want to scoop the president of the United States and our Secretary of Health and Human Services, but what I can assure you is that Robert F. Kennedy and the incredible health team that this president has put together are really viewing things in a much different lens. And they are paying attention to studies and the gold standard of science and research that many in this city for far too long have turned a blind eye to. So I think Americans are going to be enlightened and proud of what they hear later this afternoon, but I won't get ahead of the president on exactly what that announcement entails.
On a different topic, going back to the president's social media post from over the weekend regarding the DOJ and his seeming frustration that they hadn't taken action quickly enough. I want to point to something that the president said during his inaugural address. Never again will the immense power of the state be weaponized to persecute political opponents. We will not allow that to happen. Is the president going back on his promise?
No. In fact, the president is fulfilling his promise to restore a Department of Justice that demands accountability. And it is not weaponizing the Department of Justice to demand accountability for those who weaponized the Department of Justice. And nobody knows what that looks like more than President Trump. We are not going to tolerate gaslighting from anyone in the media or from anyone on the other side.
Yeah, at this point, they're just trying to gaslight people from trying to get into trouble. At this point, they broke so many rules already.
Weaponized the DOJ. Joe Biden used this sacred American institution to go after his political
oh no, we didn't really do this. It was all Trump's fault. He's the one that did it. Dude, shut the fuck up.
Like James Comey and like Letitia James, who the president is rightfully frustrated. He wants accountability for these corrupt fraudsters who abused their power, who abused their oath of office to target the former president and then candidate for the highest office in the land. And I think the president is reaffirmed in those frustrations and his hope for accountability by the millions and millions of people who reelected him to this office with a mandate to demand accountability. And the president has not been shy about this, Gabe. In fact, when he traveled to the Department of Justice earlier this year, all of you were there to cover it. He said, quote, "I demand a full and complete accountability for wrongs and abuses that have occurred. The American people gave a mandate to investigate and root the corruption out of our system, and that's what the president wants to see done."
Flog these people.
On the autism issue again,
Get the fucking
there
belt.
are
Start slapping
reams of scientific research that suggests there's no clear link between autism and acetaminophen usage. You're suggesting today they may have new information on this. A lot of it, and this entire debate has the potential to confuse women, especially pregnant women, about what to do. What do you say to those that say what you're doing today
I
potentially just
don't
introduces more confusion?
like I said before, I'm pretty sure
for many years, in fact, for decades, Ed,
yeah,
we've been
I'm pretty sure
confused by
doctors
the
have always
rapid
told
increase
women.
in
I mean,
autism in
look,
this country.
they should be
The
obviously
childhood
talking to their own
epidemic
doctors,
that is
making sure
chronic
everything's
epidemic,
okay. Obviously.
disease epidemic that is plaguing
It's like,
America's
yes,
youth. Women are
when you're
confused about
pregnant,
that,
you
and they
probably
want
shouldn't take
answers to
certain
that.
drugs,
and that's
obviously.
exactly what this administration is focused
Yeah,
on
at least,
finding. And
limit
before you
the
jump to
usage
conclusions
of
based on
drugs,
reports
yes.
that the White House has not even confirmed, I would encourage everyone in this room to go into the 4 o'clock announcement with some critical thinking skills and with some open ears to actually listen to what the president and his team of outsiders have to say about this. And there will be a number of things that will be announced and discussed. And I think, I know as a mother myself, I speak, I believe, for many mothers across the country who really want answers to what is happening to our nation's children. So again, I won't get ahead of the president, but I think everyone in this room needs to tone down the judgment before you even hear what people are going to say. Sure.
Thanks, Caroline. So too on the Holman investigation, I mean, can you just speak to, did the president ask the Justice Department to close the case, and does Holman have to return the $50,000?
Well, Mr. Holman never took the $50,000 that you're referring to, so you should get your facts straight, number one. Number two, this was
wait, so they're
example of the
they're saying that
weaponization of the
Holman took
Biden
somehow
Department of Justice
$50,000?
against one of President Trump's
sorry, what?
strongest and most vocal supporters in
So
the
that's
midst
what
of
the-
a
so
presidential
that's what
campaign.
the,
You had FBI agents going
bribery thing
undercover
they were talking
to try
about.
and entrap one of the president's top allies and supporters, someone who they knew very well would be taking a government position months later. Mr. Holman did absolutely nothing wrong, and even the president's Department of Justice, even Kash Patel's FBI, looked into this just to make sure. They had a number of different prosecutors and FBI agents who looked into this. They found zero evidence of illegal activity or criminal wrongdoing. In the White House and the president stand by Tom Homan 100% because he did absolutely nothing wrong, and he is a brave public servant who has done a phenomenal job in helping the president shut down the border. Mary.
From undercover FBI agents posing as business
that the bullet hit Charlie, but it was aimed at every one of
what?
us. Do you and your colleagues
what do you mean?
have a heightened sense of fear?
What do you mean
following this
posing
shooting
as
and this
business?
far-left violence we're seeing
Were
across the
they
country?
FBI
I certainly
agents or
think
not?
There's a heightened
I'm
sense of
confused.
awareness
Like,
by
what?
conservatives across the country.
See, that's the other
by
thing.
all of us here at the White
I mean,
House.
if they were
Again,
FBI
as I
agents,
said to
they
Monica,
probably.
many of us were personal friends with Charlie and had.
I mean, it
involvement
sounded like a
with Turning Point
contract.
before we came
Right.
and served our government in this way. So certainly, it's a very shocking incident, and I think it's very unfortunate that those of us who
I
work,
don't know
in this
right, I don't know
movement
what
have to
these
think
people are
about
talking about.
violence just for speaking our minds and for supporting President Trump.
And as a follow-up on that, I asked the president.
I mean,
last night
isn't
on
he
Air Force
supposed
One
to be
about this
working
pattern
for
of transgender violence
with
we're
the
seeing.
FBI too? That's
You know,
also, I don't know.
Charlie's killer lived with his boyfriend who identifies as transgender, and then we had the Annunciation shooting, the Covenant shooting, all of these incidents. The president said that we're looking into transgender violence. Does that mean the FBI is looking into it? And can you give any more clarity on how the administration is viewing this?
Oh,
uptick in
Biden.
specifically transgender
Apparently, the
violence?
It's
Biden
definitely something
DOJ
worth
set
looking
up
into,
like
and I
some
think
kind of
anyone
fucking
who denies
sting
that at this
operation
point
or
is
something. I
being
don't know.
willfully ignorant, and the administration is taking it seriously.
Well, I mean,
all
they
causes of
look at what
violence
the
and
Biden
why these people would be
administration did
driven
with all
to
the
such
January
evil
6
and
people.
such hatred.
They didn't
And
even
there's
try to
probably
give them
many
a
answers to
trial
that
or
question,
anything.
but the
Just jailed
administration
everyone.
is really focused on all of them. For individual investigations and cases, of course, the FBI and the Department of Justice are leading those. But as for this overall,
Or at least the people who
violence
did
and
get a
domestic
trial
terrorism that we're
didn't
seeing,
get one
the
fairly.
White House and the president's policy team will be leading the charge, and that really begins with designating Antifa as a domestic terrorist organization. And I can assure you there will be additional actions to come. Sure, in the pink.
Thanks, Caroline. Liz Landers with PBS NewsHour. I just wanted to follow up quickly on something that the president had said yesterday. So we heard from Erica Kirk. She said she forgives the man who shot and killed her husband. And then right after that, we heard from the president who said, I hate my opponent and I don't want the best for them. How does that square with bringing down the temperature of political violence in this country? And then,
Well, I
if
mean,
could, I
he's
had
the
a follow-up on
president. What do you
Venezuela,
want from
too.
him?
Look, the
There's
president
people.
is authentically himself.
There's.
I think
What
that's
do you
why
want? What do you want? He's just supposed to take the fucking lashings that people are just misconstruing everything he says, or misrepresenting him. So he's just supposed to take all the backhanded comments that people are tossing at him. Like, what? Fuck you.
millions of Americans across the country love him and support him, including Erica Kirk.
Oh,
who
you
saw
can't fight
so
back.
Beautifully was on stage.
You
with
should
the
just
president
take the
in
lashings.
an unthinkable
Take
moment
'em.
in the midst of an unthinkable tragedy, and was leaning on the president for support during that time. And he was there to give it to her, as well as the vice president and many other top-ranking cabinet officials. Kayla.
Thanks, Caroline. On TikTok, the deal. How much is the deal? And if you can't give an exact number to how much the deal is, when can we expect to learn how much the deal is being valued at? And then separately, who are the members involved in the deal? Like, can you share any more details there?
So I don't have a specific number for you, nor am I going to confirm the specific individuals and entities in the deal, Kayla, but I do have several details I'm happy to run through for all of you, and the president will be signing the deal, the official deal, later this week at some point. Under the terms of this deal, TikTok will be owned by a majority of American investors and controlled by a board of directors with extensive national security and cybersecurity credentials. In partnership with the U.S. government, Oracle will serve as TikTok's trusted security provider, and they will independently monitor the safety and data security of all U.S. user data on TikTok's platform. Americans' data will be stored securely in the United States without access from China. All U.S. user data will be stored on servers operated by Oracle in the United States, protected from surveillance or interference by foreign adversaries. And the algorithm, I know this is a question many of you have had, will be secured, retrained, and operated in the United States outside of ByteDance's control. And TikTok will remain globally interoperable, meaning TikTok users in the US will be able to see videos posted by users in other countries and vice versa. While I don't have a number on the specific deal, we do expect that thanks to the president's leadership and the securement of this historic deal, businesses using TikTok will generate as much as $178 billion in economic activity within the US over the next 4 years. So this is great news, not just for the millions of American youth who use TikTok. Their data will be safe and secure with this new deal. They'll continue to use this very fun app. But it's also great news for all of the small business owners who have really been able to make a living off of the use of TikTok as well.
And if I could just get one more as it relates to China, on crop prices with farmers, as there's still no official trade deal with China, farmers are getting a little bit antsy navigating prices being weak and not strong. How is the administration thinking about farmers right now? Is there anything we can expect to see from the administration on
I mean, at least you're not like Canada, where they shackled their fucking truckers for some reason.
The administration is
oh yeah,
completely understands the
Trudeau
anxiety
tried to
of
call
farmers.
them
We're very much aware of this issue.
terrorists
It
for
has
some
been a part
reason
of our discussions, the
Like,
trade
what?
team's discussions with their Chinese counterparts. As for any specific actions, I don't have any news on that for you today, but I can fully assure you the entire National Economic Council in this building, as well as our Secretary of Agriculture, Brooke Rollins, have been talking with the trade team about this. There's been many meetings on this.
I don't know what happened with Trudeau and the truckers.
Specific for you today.
He just went after the truckers for
Caroline,
some
but the case against
reason.
Letitia James was extensively investigated for 5 months, and President Trump's handpicked Attorney General Eric Siebert could not find any evidence that he committed a crime. So is the president saying here it doesn't matter if there's a crime, he just wants his political enemies to be charged?
Well, let me just walk you through Letitia James. Letitia James completely abused her oath of office. Letitia James was actively and openly engaged in lawfare. You talk about weaponizing the Department of Justice. What was Letitia James's campaign slogan? It was prosecute Donald Trump. She was saying she was going to prosecute Donald Trump before she even knew if Donald Trump committed a crime, which of course we did not. Those are not the words of a serious prosecutor. Those are the words of a corrupt politician who is abusing their power. She actively campaigned on that. She also led the witch hunt, the financial fraud investigation against President Trump and the Trump Organization, and an appeals court tossed that case out, a $500 million civil fraud penalty in August, which was another win for the president and exonerated him of this witch hunt and showed that this is an individual who is corrupt and abused her oath of office. And we also have evidence of her mortgage fraud. An April report from a white-collar fraud investigator found that there was documented evidence that James engaged in a consistent pattern of financial and property disclosures that raise serious legal questions.
But why won't the president accept the conclusions of his Justice Department to not bring charges against Letitia James? In fact, you had Bondi and Blanche top DOJ leadership who were against ousting Eric Siebert, who again was picked by President Trump.
I just answered that question for you, and the president has every right to express how he feels about these people who literally campaigned on trying to put him in jail, who literally tried to ruin his life and ruin his businesses, and he wants to see accountability for those who abuse their office and abuse their power. And Letitia James absolutely did that, whether you want to admit it or not.
Is that not
Jeff.
retribution, though?
Jeff, it's accountability.
Thanks,
Jeff.
Caroline. 2 foreign policy questions. President Putin has offered President Trump.
Hey,
a
I mean,
1-year extension
if you're putting
the
in
most recent
frivolous
freedom of
lawsuits
weapons.
when you
Does
know
the
that
White House
they're
have a reaction to
they're
that?
not gonna
Does
stay
the
why
president
would
want
you?
to accept that offer? And
You're
then one
obviously
separate
just
issue,
playing
just
lawfare at
generally,
that
what is
point.
the president's response or reaction to
I don't
a
understand
number of
people.
countries this week who are
It's
planning
like
to or
people
have
are okay
recognized
with
Palestinians?
lawfare.
Two great questions, Jeff.
And to
your,
drag shit, you
first
know
question about
that's what
Russia,
they're gonna
the president
do.
is aware of this offer extended by President Putin, and I'll let him comment on it later. I think it sounds pretty good, but he wants to make some comments on that himself, and I will let him do that. As for all of these Western nations that are
did they
recognizing a
not
Palestinian state,
did
the
they not
president has been
misuse
very
the
clear. He
DOJ?
disagrees with this
Right,
decision.
Biden. So
He
are you gonna
spoke
say
about that in the
Biden
UK,
didn't
standing right
misuse
next
the
to his
DOJ
friend,
when he did
Prime Minister
all that
Starmer,
shit?
and he
Don't
feels
give me
this
that
does
shit.
not do
Fuck
anything
you, lady.
to release the hostages, which is the primary goal right now in Gaza, does nothing to end this conflict and bring this war to a close. And frankly, he believes it's a reward to Hamas. So he believes these decisions are just more talk and not enough action from some of our friends and allies, and I think you'll hear him talk about that tomorrow at the UN. Kristen.
Thanks, Caroline. Just going back to this Letitia James story, what does President Trump plan to do if the Attorney General, Pam Bondi, tells him that there is not enough evidence to bring his political opponents' cases or to charge those cases?
That's a hypothetical question, Kristen. That hasn't happened at this point.
But we did see one U.S. attorney not be able to find enough evidence, and now they no longer have a job. Is that something that you would consider?
Look, the president stands with Pam Bondi
don't know why
100%. He made that clear this weekend. He answered questions from all of you last night on Air Force One. He said the same, and that's how he feels at this moment in time.
And just one more thing on the Attorney General
Go
with
ahead,
Pam Bondi.
Caroline, would the president support designating Russia as a sponsor of
They keep
terrorism,
trying to push that
as
one
return
point.
kidnapped Ukrainian children? And secondly, we just found out through.
I mean, didn't Biden and his cronies start trying to take out Republicans too? Like when he fucking was in power? Like, are we gonna really do this?
Unfortunately, I think it's unsurprising.
Are we gonna really do this tit for tat
And
shit?
it's also very telling that one of the only pardons Joe Biden signed on his way out the door was the pardon of his son. Everything else was signed with an auto pen, but that one was clearly his own signature. To your first question about Russia, I have no news to share with you on that. Sure, in the yellow.
According to media reports, Maduro has sent a letter to President Trump.
Maduro.
President Trump avoid saying whether he has read it. Did he receive it?
We have seen this letter. Frankly, I think there were a lot of lies that were repeated by Maduro in that letter, and the administration's position on Venezuela has not changed. We view the Maduro regime as illegitimate, and the president.
Well, I mean, you
has
should just
clearly
you should
shown
just
that
hit
he's
him with the
willing to
fact
use
that
any and all
Maduro
means
put a
necessary
fucking
to stop the
$50,000 or
illegal
$50
trafficking
million
of deadly drugs
bounty
from
on
the
Trump's
Venezuelan
head.
regime
I was
into
like,
the United States of America.
So you're okay with people just putting out
Okay.
hits
You
on
and then go
people? Huh?
Sure.
Thank you, Caroline. Whitline with Borderhawk News. The admin has openly discussed taking legal action against officials in sanctuary jurisdictions. Just this last weekend, we saw Mayor of Evanston, Daniel Bliss, rioting and protesting outside of an ICE facility near Chicago. Are there plans to start arresting sanctuary mayors or governors going forwards?
Unless they commit a crime, I don't see them being arrested. But if they are violating federal law, if they are violating state law, then of course they should be arrested by state and local law enforcement. If they're violating federal law, then they can expect the consequences of that behavior. Nick.
Thank you, Caroline. Would the president like to see Congress pass a national holiday honoring Charlie Kirk annually?
That's an interesting question. I'm sure he wouldn't oppose such a thing. But you can pose that to him yourself next time you get the chance.
Sure thing. And to follow up too, I know the president is honoring Charlie with the Presidential Medal of Freedom. Is there anything else?
Are we
you
gonna
don't
say
know
that
of in
about
regards to honor
every
Charlie?
person who passes?
Not at this time, but we
Who-
do look
who-
forward to that
who has,
Medal
like,
of Freedom
some
ceremony very soon.
big political
Daniel.
standing.
Thanks, Caroline.
that
This past Friday, Adam Schiff, Tim
moving
Kaine, they
people
introduced a
to try and
resolution on
vote,
Capitol Hill aimed at
be
stopping
more
successful
human-like.
kinetic strikes against narco-terrorists in the
Yeah.
Caribbean Sea. What does a move like this, what type of message does it send to families, specifically families who have suffered at the hands of deadly narco drugs like these?
I definitely think it sends the wrong message. We wish that Democrats would get on board with a very simple idea of ending drug trafficking and securing our homeland. And I saw a report this morning that the Dominican Republic actually helped us seize a boat that was on its way from Venezuela to the United States of America with lots of deadly drugs on board. And so if you actually
Yeah,
hear
apparently
from
they even
Caribbean
picked up
nations in the
the
region,
fucking
they are
drug
thankful and grateful
right
for the
the
administration's
one
efforts,
right
and they're
remember
working
when
alongside
Trump
us to
bombed
end
the
this plague
fucking
of drug
boat?
trafficking
Yeah, apparently they
overseas.
even picked up that one
Sure,
drug
Karen.
package.
Over the
Those guys
weekend, Democratic
dropped off.
leaders Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries sent a letter to
Yeah,
the
I
White
mean,
House
people are
asking for a
helping.
meeting with the president.
I
to
mean,
talk about
obviously some of these
government
drugs
funding.
probably
Has the
get
White House
into their
responded to
fucking
that letter,
country
and
too,
will the
and they don't
president
like
sit down with them to talk about this?
It's
given that
obviously
deadline
killing their
is now
citizenry.
8 days away?
Discussions are
Or
ongoing
wreaking
with both
havoc
Republican
within
and
their
Democratic
cities.
members of Capitol Hill. I don't have any meetings or any scheduling updates for you today, but what I will share is that what this White House wants and what Republicans want, we want a clean funding extension to keep the government open. That's all we're advocating for, a simple, clean budget extension, a straightforward, responsible solution to keep the government open to November 21st and allow the full year appropriations process to move forward. And I will add, this is the same budget that the Democrats approved 6 months ago, just adjusted for inflation. And unfortunately, all of a sudden now, they want to shut down the government. And if the government is shut down, it's only going to, it will be the fault of the Democrats, and it will only hurt the most vulnerable in our country, our seniors, our veterans, our military families, and increasing security for members of Congress, which is something this White House and the administration supports. And if you look back at the statements made by Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries in the past, they too have advocated against a shutdown and for keeping the government open. Democrat Chuck Schumer himself said a shutdown would mean chaos and pain and needless heartache for the American people.
Well, I mean, they tried to do a government shutdown with the big, beautiful bill, right?
For our veterans, for parents and children,
They always
for
fucking do
farmers,
that
and for
shit.
small businesses. Hakeem Jeffries also said
we
it's
don't
about
like
the harm.
this government
Families will be hurt
shutdown.
if there is a government shutdown. Farmers will be hurt. Holiday travel will be impacted. Democrats clearly know what the right thing to do is here. It's to join with Republicans to pass this clean funding extension. That's what the White House and the president wants. And with that, we will see you all at 4 o'clock for this big announcement later on. Thanks, guys.
There it is. That was Caroline Leavitt. I mean, you do what you can, eh? Do what you can. There you have it. If you want to check it out, it's at the White House.